Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're looking at something truly extraordinary. We are going to dive into the astonishing data and historical records surrounding a remote group of people who seemingly defy human aging. I mean, we spend so much time and money today searching for the perfect diet, the ultimate biohack, or that magic supplement to extend our lives. But what if the answer was actually discovered decades ago, in a remote mountain valley of all places? Right, let's jump right in and explore the incredible documented phenomenon of the Hunza people. Section 1, the Valley Without Illness. So, let's start with a medical mystery that has completely captivated researchers, gerontologists, and doctors for decades, focusing entirely on the inhabitants of the Hunza River Valley up in northern India. At first glance, it sounds totally impossible, right? In our modern world, getting sick is just an accepted part of life. But historical sources point to this specific group of people who experience virtually zero serious chronic diseases. And we aren't just talking about a few lucky individuals who happen to live a long time. We're talking about an entire population where the very concept of terminal or chronic decline seems almost entirely absent. To really put this into perspective, think about this number. According to early medical reports from researchers who actually lived among them, 120 years was the average life expectancy of a Hunzakut. Just let that sink in for a second. That's the average. Those same researchers noted they encountered individuals living up to 160 years old. It literally shatters everything we think we know about human longevity and the natural human lifespan. Now, you might be thinking that living to 120 just means spending decades in a state of frailty. Well, think again. Researchers recorded that 40-year-old women in this society looked like young girls. They maintained youthful, slim figures well into their 60s. And honestly, most shockingly of all, there are actual records of women giving birth at age 65. The vitality they maintain deep into what we would consider old age is just staggering. But perhaps the most startling number in all of this data is zero, as in a completely 0% cancer rate across the entire population. In a world where cancer is one of the leading causes of death globally, finding a population with a reported zero incidence rate, that is an incredibly rare anomaly in medical research. Section 2, doctors investigate the Hunza. Naturally, when claims like this surface, they attract a ton of skepticism. So let's zoom in on the documented medical expeditions that investigated these astonishing statistics to see how they actually hold up to professional scrutiny. The historical credibility really starts with a British military doctor named Robert McCarrison. He didn't just pop in for a weekend trip. He lived in close proximity to the Hunza Valley for an extensive 7-year period, and in all those years, he reported never encountering a single sick Hunzakut. Decades later, a French medical expedition in 1963 confirmed his findings, verifying both the 120-year average lifespan and that wild 160-year maximum. The ultimate validation, though, came in August 1977 at the International Cancer Congress in Paris, where it was formally stated that according to geocarcinological data, a complete absence of cancer occurs only among the Hunza people. Now, inevitably, myth debunkers pushed back, pointing out that the Hunza occasionally got rashes, minor colds, or diarrhea. But the researchers drew a very hard line here. They noted that, yes, the Hunza did get these minor ailments, but they viewed them as natural, short-term phenomena, just a part of life. They were entirely distinct from the serious, degenerative, and chronic illnesses that plague the Western world. To them, a common cold just wasn't a disease in the medical sense of long-term bodily decay. So what's their secret? Is it just the pristine, fresh mountain air? Well, McCarrison found that the climate wasn't the secret at all. When researchers looked at neighboring tribes living in the exact same mountain climate, breathing the exact same air, they found those tribes had a completely different diet. And the result? Those neighbors suffered from a wide variety of diseases and had exactly half the life expectancy of the Hunza. The environment was a constant. The food was the actual game changer. Section 3, the longevity diet. So the crucial variable for the Hunza was their food, and sources suggest this might be even more effective than the highly praised Japanese or Mediterranean diets we hear so much about today. Let's break down exactly what they're eating. Their eating habits are entirely seasonal and 100% chemical-free. They eat natural crops grown exclusively in their own soil. In the summer, their diet is incredibly simple, predominantly raw fruits and vegetables. Then, when winter sets in, they pivot to sun-dried apricots, sprouted grains, and sheep's cheese. And when they do cook, it's done over an open fire, which actually preserves all those biologically valuable nutrients that our modern ultra-processing usually destroys. Beyond just the fresh produce, Their diet is incredibly strict by our modern standards. Dr. McCarrison specifically emphasized that their protein intake is surprisingly low. Meat is eaten extremely rarely, usually only if an animal is injured or dies by accident. Refined sugar? Completely absent from their society. Salt intake is kept very moderate, and their daily hydration comes from soft, calcium-free mountain water. For the researchers, it served as an absolute masterclass in whole food, plant-heavy simplicity. But here is perhaps one of the most fascinating aspects of their entire year, an extreme, enforced annual fast they call the Hungry Spring. Now, this isn't intermittent fasting for a few hours. This is a 2 to 4 month period right before the new fruit ripens, where the hunza eat almost nothing. They survive by drinking a single beverage made from dried apricots, just once a day. This drastic, prolonged restriction of caloric intake is a cornerstone of their annual cycle, giving their digestive systems a massive rest period. Section 4, Mindset and Daily Habits. Okay, diet is huge, but it's only half the equation. Let's shift gears and look at the physical and mental lifestyle choices documented by researchers during their time in the valley. The physical vitality and mental resilience here are just off the charts. The hunzas are incredibly hardworking, routinely walking tens of kilometers a day across rugged mountain terrain without even tiring. They actually embrace cold exposure, bathing in icy water even when temperatures drop to -15 degrees Celsius. And this physical energy lasts a lifetime. Researchers noted that even the centenarians, people over 100 years old, are out there participating in active games. Mentally, they maintain a remarkably stress-free, positive vibe. They're friendly, they rarely get angry, they don't complain, and there is zero impatience or nervousness. They just don't quarrel with one another. It's this holistic ecosystem of physical toughness and mental peace. Section 5, the ultimate diet test. Now, to prove his theories about the hunza lifestyle were rooted in actual biological science and not just some isolated mountain magic, Dr. McCarrison went back to England. He decided to set up a massive animal experiment to test the strict hunza diet directly against a typical Western diet. The results were honestly undeniable. McCarrison separated the animals into two groups. The first group was fed a standard Western diet: white bread, herring, refined sugar, and canned or heavily cooked vegetables. Unsurprisingly, this group developed a wide variety of the exact same chronic diseases that plague our modern society today. The second group was fed the hunza diet: natural, mostly raw, low protein, and zero sugar. And guess what? That group remained perfectly, completely healthy throughout the entire experiment. Which leaves us with a really compelling, almost urgent question. Based on these historical observations and the stark medical data, how much of our own health is actually entirely within our control? I mean, if an entire population can eradicate chronic disease and regularly live past 100 through raw foods, periods of fasting, daily movement, and a stress-free community, what elements of the hunza lifestyle might you try integrating into your own life? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Until next time, stay curious.